Hi everybody. We're going to do a quick sketch of the ventral abdominal wall in the dog. And to begin with, we're going to do it cranial to the umbilicus, and orientation is dorsal will be screen up, ventral will be screen down. So this will be a transverse section. And to begin with, we'll draw the rectus abdominis muscle, and we'll kind of place them here as two ovals. So those will be rectus abdominis muscles. Continuing on, we'll do the linea alba, and we'll put that right in here in between the two rectus abdominis muscles. Continuing, we'll draw the external abdominal oblique, which would be the most superficial of the lateral abdominal walls, and it's going to come down. Its aponeursis will insert to the linea alba. So that would be the external abdominal oblique. We can do that on both sides. The next muscle would be the internal abdominal oblique. So that will come down. And in the cranial aspect, which really is important, but its aponeursis will insert on the linea alba, and you'll send a sheath superficial to the rectus abdominis and one deep. So we can do that on both sides. So that's going to be the internal abdominal oblique. The transversus abdominis will be deep to the internal abdominal oblique, and it'll come down and send an aponeursis to the linea alba on both sides in the deepest fashion. So that will be transversus abdominis. So superficial rectus sheath. The superficial rectus sheath would be these contributions superficial to the rectus abdominis from these abdominal muscles. So you would find a superficial sheath here, superficial to the rectus muscle on both sides, inserting in on the linea alba, superficial to the rectus abdominis, and the contributions from the aponeursis of the abdominal muscles, as we described, it would be from the external abdominal oblique and internal abdominal oblique in this position in the animal. The deep rectus sheath. The deep rectus sheath will be that aponeuroses inserting on the linea alba that are contributed by the aponeuroses of the transversus abdominis and internal abdominal oblique. So that would be the deep rectus sheath. So that would be 6. So this would be 6. And this is going to be 5. So a few other things we'll draw here. The falciform ligament. So the falciform ligament is going to be found right in here in this fat. It's a fat-filled structure right in here deep to the linea alba. And you'll find this in the cranial part of the ventral abdomen as it runs from the umbilicus to the liver. And this is where the umbilical vein ran in the fetus. But when you're doing an abdominal incision, you'll find this deep to your incision in the linea alba, and it's filled with fat. Parietal peritoneum. Parietal peritoneum will cover, basically, it'll be inside this abdominal muscle wall, and it'll come out and it'll cover the falciform ligament, so it'll basically be that inner membrane of parietal peritoneum lining the inner abdominal wall. The skin we will put out here in the most superficial aspect. So the skin will be out here in the superficial aspect. So that would be the skin. Subcutaneous tissue would be between the skin and that external abdominal oblique. Superficial rectus sheath, linea alba. So in this area you're going to find subcutaneous tissue. Finally, a few other things. The greater omentum would be found within this region. This is approximately where you'd find the greater omentum, sitting in here. Okay, so that would be the greater omentum. And finally, where are the organs? Well, the organs are found deep to all of this. So the abdominal organs, you're going to find in here. So again, this is an important area of incision, and if you think about coming from an incision in this direction to gain access to the abdomen, you would go through skin, subcutaneous tissue, linea alba. You would have to take on and consider the location of the fat-filled falciform ligament and the greater omentum on your way to access the organs. Now this was drawn for the cranial to the umbilicus. The one difference would be if you go caudal to the umbilicus, how would it change? Well, basically how it would change is there would be no deep leaf of the rectus abdominis, as all these muscles basically would insert and contribute to the superficial leaf. So that would be one difference. So in a caudal aspect about the level of sacroiliac joint, transversus abdominis, the internal abdominal oblique, and external abdominal oblique would all contribute to, they would all come down and contribute to the superficial sheath. So these would all come down and contribute to the superficial rectus sheath, as there is no deep leaf in the very caudal aspect of the rectus sheath. The other thing that would be different here is that the linea alba would not be found here. You might find a little fat in the median ligament of the bladder, but the linea alba, or I'm not sorry, linea alba, I meant to say the falciform ligament would not be found in this region as it runs from the umbilicus to the liver. So in this caudal aspect, you would not find the falciform ligament. You might find a fat-filled median ligament of the bladder, but you're not going to find this. And depending on how caudal you are, you might not find the greater omentum, because that's only going to run to about the level of a full bladder or so in the caudal abdomen. So that would be the difference between the cranial and caudal drawing.